Look at that. It's still here. I know that sounds silly, but every time I come back to a garden I've started, there's this moment of relief. Like, yes, it made it. It's real. Welcome to week 2. If you're just joining us, first of all, hello, welcome. Go watch week 1, because what we built in those first 3 days is the foundation for everything you're about to see happen. And if you've been here from day 1, thank you, genuinely. Let's keep going. This week is about filling this world in, making it lush, making it layered, making it feel like it's been growing for years. 4 days, 4 steps. Let's build. Day 4. Here's something I want to talk about before we plant a single thing today. Ground cover. Not the most glamorous word, right? Ground cover sounds like something from a boring landscaping manual. But here's what ground cover actually is, in a fairy garden context. It's the difference between a container with things in it and a world. It's the meadow floor, the mossy clearing, the soft green that makes your eye rest. It's what makes the cottage look like it belongs there. Today, we lay the carpet. 3 plants today. I've picked these because they stay tiny, spread slowly and beautifully, and are basically impossible to make look bad, which is exactly what we want. First, miniature brass buttons. This one is my personal obsession. Tiny fern-like leaves, completely flat to the ground. Spreads in perfect little mats, and in spring, it gets tiny yellow button flowers. Like someone scattered a handful of gold coins across the ground. Goes in the wide open flat areas of our landscape. Second, mind your own business. Best plant name ever, by the way. Tiny round leaves, dense soft mounds. Loves moisture. This one is going in the valley, where we water most. And third, Elfin thyme. The tiniest thyme variety you can find. Micro leaves. Micro purple flowers in summer. It looks like a fairy scale lawn. This goes along the stone path edges and spills over the container rim just slightly. Like the garden is trying to escape into the world. Which, let it. Before any plant goes in, we prepare the surface. I'm using a small fork, or my fingers, to very lightly loosen the top layer of soil in the planting areas. Just the surface, maybe half a centimeter. We want the ground cover roots to grip immediately. Also, clear any loose debris from the top of the moss. We want a clean surface for the ground cover to come in on. Think of it as smoothing a canvas before you paint. Here's a ground cover trick that will save you money and make it look better. Don't plant the whole pot in one spot. Divide it. I'm taking the brass buttons and gently pulling the root clump apart into 4 or 5 smaller sections. They separate easily. Don't be afraid. They're tougher than they look. Now, instead of one dense clump, I have 5 small plants I can spread across the container. 5 planting points for one pot. That's how you get the spread out, naturally colonized look that makes it appear the plants have been growing there for years. Brass buttons first, scattered across the flat open areas. Pressing each small section into soil, roots in full contact. No air pockets. Mind your own business next, into the valley. I'm planting in a small cluster. It'll spread out from there over weeks. Give it the low moist spot, and it will reward you endlessly. And Elfin thyme along the stone path edges, tucking it right between the path stones and the soil, so it looks like it grew up through the cracks. That gap between stone and soil is where fairy gardens come alive. Press everything in firmly. Mist lightly. The ground cover has landed. Do you know what's inside this? Everything. A whole plant. A whole lifespan. Color, texture, height, all of it. Coiled up inside something smaller than a grain of rice. I never get tired of seeds. 14 years of growing things, and I still feel it. That little flutter when you press a seed into soil. Because you just made a promise. And in a few days, the ground is going to keep it. Today, we sow. 3 seed varieties today. All small-scale flowers. They won't outgrow our fairy garden. They'll bloom in scale, in proportion, like the garden ordered them from a catalog that only serves tiny worlds. First, miniature forget-me-nots, classic. Tiny blue star flowers on delicate stems. They love partial shade, perfect near the cottage base, and they'll self-seed every year. Once you plant forget-me-nots, they never really leave. Second, baby blue eyes. Low, sprawling, covered in small sky blue flowers with white centers. They look like the sky fell into the garden. These go in the sunny open area of our container. And third, miniature alyssum. Tiny clusters of white, honey-scented flowers. For the path edge, it'll spread low and fill the gaps between the Elfin thyme. And it smells incredible. On a warm afternoon, alyssum and thyme together smells like someone is baking honey somewhere very close by. Trust me on that. Seeds need fine, firm, level soil. I'm using a small flat piece of bark, or the back of a spoon, to very lightly smooth and firm the surface in the seeding areas. Not compressed, firm. There's a difference. Compressed soil repels water. Firm soil holds moisture. 3 zones: open flat ground, path edge, shaded zone near the cottage. Mark each zone mentally before you sow. Because for the first week, seeds are invisible, and you will forget instantly where you put them. Speaking from experience. Painfully. Sowing small seeds is about restraint. Less than you think. Way less. I'm pinching a tiny amount between thumb and forefinger and scattering it across the zone with a gentle back and forth motion. Like this. Think of it as seasoning food. You don't dump the whole salt shaker. Forget-me-nots in the shaded zone near the cottage. Baby blue eyes in the open sunny center. Alyssum along the path edge. Once sown, press very lightly. Just a fingertip brush across the surface. Seeds need soil contact, but they don't want to be buried. For these varieties, soil level is the right depth. No covering. Just press and trust. Seeds and strong water streams are enemies. One blast from a watering can, and your perfectly placed seeds are all in one corner. Mist only. Always. Fine spray bottle. 3 full passes over the entire container. You want the soil to look damp velvet. Not wet, not flooded. Damp velvet. From this point, write this down. Mist the seed areas twice a day. Morning and evening. Every day. Until germination. The seeds will do the rest. And they will. I promise they will. Quick note on what happens next. For the first 3 to 5 days, visually, nothing. The seeds are doing everything underground. The embryo unfurling. The root pushing down. But you can't see any of it yet. This is the hardest part for new growers. Trust the invisible work. Keep misting twice a day. Don't overwater. Bright indirect light for germination. Not harsh direct midday sun. Then around day 5 to 8, you're going to look into this container and see the tiniest, most impossibly delicate green thread poking up through the soil. That first sprout. That's day 5's gift. We just haven't unwrapped it yet. So, the ground cover is laid. The seeds are sleeping. Our world has a floor now. A proper, living, spreading floor. But in part 2? In part 2, we give it a story. Day 6, we add accessories and decor. A lantern, a bench, a birdbath, mushrooms in the mossy shade, a pebble arch at the path entrance. And day 7. Day 7 we do a full check-in on everything we've built. The complete watering guide. The full week 2 review. Part 2 is waiting. I'll see you there. Welcome back. The ground cover is planted. The seeds are in. Now, day 6 and day 7. Today, we give this world its story. And then we make sure you know exactly how to keep it alive. Let's go. I want you to think about your favorite book. Not the plot, not even the characters. The details. The detail of the grandmother's kitchen, the smell of bread, the cracked tile by the door, the cup that was always sitting in the same spot on the windowsill. That's what makes a world feel real. Not the big things, the small things. Today, we add the small things. Rule number 1 for fairy garden accessories. Less is more. Always. The temptation, especially when you're excited, is to fill every inch. Every corner, every surface, every gap. Don't. White space is not empty space. White space is breathing room. White space is where the imagination lives. My rule, 3 to 5 accessories maximum per container. And they should tell a story, not decorate a surface. So let's build a story. The lantern goes at the cottage door because someone lives there and they come home after dark. The bench goes on the flat area facing the valley because whoever lives here likes to sit and look at their view. And don't we all? The bird bath goes in the open sunlit area because this is a garden and gardens have birds. The mushrooms, 3 of them in the mossy valley. Small cluster, like they grew there overnight, which in a fairy garden they absolutely could have. And the pebble arch, I built this myself. 3 flat pebbles from the garden, glued carefully into an arch shape. It goes at the base of the stone path, the entrance to the whole world. Now we have a village. Before you press anything into the soil, hold it over the spot. Look at it from the angle the camera will see. Look at it from the front of the container. Does it make sense where it is? Not aesthetically, logically. Would a bench be here? Would a bird bath be in this shadow? The lantern should be near a path or a door, not floating in a field. The bench should face something worth looking at. The mushrooms should be in a damp, shaded spot, because that's where mushrooms grow. Respect the internal logic of the world you're building. Viewers, even viewers who don't know why, can feel when something is placed wrong. When it's right, they lean in. Once happy with placement, press each piece gently into the soil. Most accessories sit stable on their own in firm soil. For anything wobbly, a tiny dab of clear craft glue works perfectly. Just the base, just enough to anchor it. The pebble arch is the only piece that needs real structure. Pre-glued, cured overnight. Now I'm pressing the base into the soil at the entrance of the path. Like placing a gate at the start of a road. Step back. Look at what you have now. This world has a door, a bench, a lamp, a bird bath, a cluster of mushrooms in the shade. Someone lives here. 7 days. 7 days ago, I showed you an empty pot. And here we are. I want to just sit with that for a second. A cottage, a stone path, a hillside and a valley, moss, 5 tiny plants, ground cover spreading across the floor, seeds resting in the dark, about to become something, a bench, a lamp, a bird bath, a world, built in 7 days, 1 small step at a time. Today, day 7. We're not building. Today, we learn how to take care of what we've made. Because a fairy garden without a watering routine is a fairy garden on borrowed time. Let's fix that. Watering a fairy garden is not the same as watering a regular garden. Everything is smaller. Everything is more sensitive. A flood that would barely dampen a flower bed can drown a fairy garden in minutes. So we have a system. And it's simpler than you think. Before you water anything, check. Push your finger 1 inch into the soil. Like this. If it comes out with moist soil clinging, don't water. If it comes out dry or barely damp, water. That's it. That's the whole test. The most common mistake with fairy gardens, and with most container gardens honestly, is overwatering. The soil looks fine on the surface, but underneath it's waterlogged. And waterlogged roots rot. Trust the finger, not the surface. Our fairy garden has 3 water zones. Zone 1, the seed areas. Misted twice a day, every day, until germination. Fine mist bottle, Never a stream, never a pore. Zone 2, the living plants. Baby's tears, Irish moss, the ferns, the ground cover. Watered when the finger test says so, usually every 2 to 3 days depending on weather. Tiny watering can. Zone 3, the preserved moss and accessories. These don't need watering, but a light mist once a week keeps the moss looking vibrant and stops the accessories looking dusty. 3 zones, 3 different needs, 1 garden. Simple. Let's do a full check-in on everything. Cottage, still standing. Roof secure. Perfect. Stone path, intact. Elfin thyme beginning to creep between the stones. Look at that. It's already colonizing. Moss, healthy and deep green. Preserved moss plumps up beautifully with regular misting. Baby's tears, Irish moss, fern, stone crop, thyme. All from week 1. All settled. All alive. All growing. Ground cover, brass buttons, mind your own business elfin thyme. Starting to spread at the edges. Give them 2 more weeks and they'll carpet the floor. Seeds, soil evenly moist. No sprouts yet, but they're coming. I can feel it. Accessories, lantern, bench, birdbath, mushrooms, pebble arch, all secure. All in story position. This garden is healthy. This garden is alive. And it is only going to get better. Week 2 done. Look at what you've built. Really look at it. Ground cover carpeting the floor. Seeds sleeping in the soil, dreaming of becoming. A world with a story, with furniture, with a gate at the entrance. A world that needs you to come back tomorrow. That's not nothing. That's actually everything. Now, week 3. In week 3, the garden matures. We're going to watch those seeds sprout. We're going to add a water feature. Yes, a tiny pond right into our landscape. We're going to talk about shaping and training the ground cover so it grows in exactly the direction we want. And we'll do a full seasonal styling session, making our fairy garden look like it belongs in a specific time and place. It gets more beautiful from here. I promise you that. I'll see you in week 3. Take good care of it. Happy growing.